Okay. So we're talking about class. Now, what is class in any programming language? Okay. So class comes from the concept of object-oriented programming language, right? So a class means that you are grouping variables and functions together in a crude way. Yeah. So in a crude way, you're combining variables and functions together, right? But you don't just combine any variables and any function. You combine the related functions. Okay. So functions, when you declare independent, they're called as functions. But when you declare functions as part of class, they're called as methods. Okay. So when we did this str1 equal to hello, okay, and when we said print type of str1, okay, what did we get? We got string str, right? And what is this? Class, right? What it says is this variable belongs to class str, okay? And class will have its own variables and its own methods, right? And how to find the members of the class? So you say dot. So when you say str, now str has become an object. Now, see, when you talk about Apple, Apple is a class. Everybody knows what Apple is, right? Because somebody told us, somebody defined Apple to us. So you have to define Apple to us first. Like a string, boolean, integer, these are in predefined classes. Okay, so already the developers of Python have defined those classes for us. We can define our own classes now. Okay, so we'll learn how to define our own class. But when you define a class, you also add some members to it, right? So members can be your variables and your methods or functions. And when you want to use it, now knowing Apple doesn't give you the taste. You have to eat the apple. You have to hold the apple, right? Apple as a class is only one, but you can create multiple objects. You can have infinite objects. Okay, you go to a shop and you buy one. I can go and buy one, right? We can have multiple. So when you're using it, you have to create the object and use it. You cannot use class per se. Okay, there are some cases, very little cases, 10%, 20%, we also use class. We'll talk about it. But 90% of the time, you can't use a class, right? Knowing Apple doesn't mean that we own Apple or we store Apple or we hold Apple or we can use Apple. No, to use Apple, you have to go and get that Apple. Getting that, okay, or converting class into usable form is object. Now, when I say str1 equal to hello, and I can say str2 also equal to, say, good day. Now, both are what? Both are objects of class string. So class string is only one. Class is only one. And when we define, when we create this, it becomes object, correct? So there are two objects. So it becomes objects, right? And this is what we're going to use. Okay, class string is good for us to know, okay, these are string. But actually in practical purpose, we have to use str1 and str2, right? The value that you read from the user or you create, right? Now, when you start using it, as I said, class will provide some extra functionalities, some extra members. So when you say str1 dot here, you see all these functions, right? All these methods. So you see M here stands for methods. So methods means functions in a class, right? So functions, when you write independent, those are functions. And when you write inside a class, they become methods. So these are the pre-built methods. Okay, these are the pre-built methods. Okay, which are created in string. Okay, so if I say is digit, so is digit is actually checking, is it a digit, right? So of course str1 is hello, and if you say is digit, this will give us false, right? Because is digit is not digit. So when you run it, you get false. But instead, if I make 555, okay, now it'll say true because it is digit. Okay, 1 second.
Mommy is having class review.
Sorry. So isDigit is a function which has its own properties. Now, when you are so another advantage of this is when you are using this function, right? IsDigit, we don't know how it is implemented, okay, and you don't care to know, because for me, I just want to know it is digit or not. That's it. So person who has developed it, that would have written some code. But as a user, okay, so when you drive a car, you don't need to know how accelerator works. If you know it is good, but you don't need to know what happens when you press accelerator, or how does the speed increases. You don't need to know that. But what you need to know is, okay, if I press this, this is what happens. If I press clutch, this is what happens. If I press brake, this is what happens. If I press accelerator, this is what happens. So, so, so from user perspective, we just need to know, okay, if I use a string class and if I say isDigit, this is what it's going to give me. How does it gives me? What is the calculation? What is the logic? You don't need to know, right? But of course, if you want to, you can always go and check. You can talk to mechanic, he'll explain you, or you go to and see on the code of isDigit, will tell you. Okay. But as a user, you don't need to. When you're doing a program, your focus has to be on how to reach my destination, right? How to get the outcome, right? And for that, you have to use multiple functions and methods. You can use that. Okay. So this is an example of inbuilt class. Now we'll try to create our own class. Okay. So how to create our own class? You create a class using keyword class. Okay. And let's say I call it as class apple. And you give colon here. So class space apple will create class apple for us. Okay. Now, as I said, it can have variables and it can have functions or methods. So let's say we define only a dummy function. So function is always defined with keyword def. Okay. So def is for definition of function. And again, just like class, function also needs to be called to be used. You can't use function just like using for loop or if, right? You define a function and then you have to specifically call the function. We can return the function. Exactly. So class is like a collection. It is storing variables and functions together. So when I say def here, def and let's say display. Okay, you there, Pavni?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. So display is a function. Okay. Now you see. So def, this is how you define any function, right? So def function name. Now self is the extra thing which gets added when you create an method. Self indicates that this function is at object level. So that means when you create an object, okay, when you create an object of class apple, this function will have a unique attachment with object. Okay, so for example, now take this example, the class example itself. We have str1.555 and str2.goodday, right? Now when I say str1.isDigit, how does it know that we have to change this one or not this one? Both are object. Correct. So str1 is an object, right? So str1 is object, so you're getting this one. But how does it is linked to this one only? Why not linked to a class? It is linked to this particular object because when you go and see this, right? See, it has a self here. Okay, self indicate that it is an object level. So it will have a different value for different object. And when you see CLS here, CLS would mean that is a class level. So whichever object you call, str1 dot something you call or str2 you call, they will give you same answer. When it is a class level, for example, assume orange. Okay, let's take orange. Orange color is always orange, right? You don't have orange in black and pink. Now, for in that case, okay, you can give color orange as a class level. You don't have to define it as an object level. Color can be a class level, because whichever object you call, you get the same value. It doesn't have to be attached to each object, right? No. Different functions are there. You can create multiple functions. So when you say str1 dot here, right? You see all these are functions only, no?
Instead of creating a class apple, directly we can create a def apple. In that we certain what are the operations we will perform in that function we will perform. For suppose we can take apple and orange. Apple for the one function and orange for the another function. We will perform and we will return those operations directly.
Correct. So see, before class, the coding that we were doing was doing that like that only. No, when we are running for loop or we are doing function, we are not attaching it to any class. We are running it like that. But object oriented has its own advantages. Okay, the advantage is that when I say apple, right, you get certain picture in your mind. If I say, when you call me and I say I'm playing cricket with apple, okay, what will your reaction be? How can you play cricket with apple, right? Cricket, I mean, you need something hard to hit the ball, right? You can't make apple as a ball and play, right? So you can't use apple to play cricket, because apple is not meant to be played cricket, right? But when I say I'm eating an apple, what will your reaction be? No reaction, right? Because it's normal, everybody eat apple, right? So 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 in our real life, the way we act in our real life, we act, if you see, we act in terms of class and object. Now we say that, okay, we are starting class at 7 o'clock. Okay, so we'll say, okay, Pavni and Aviram join. Now when I say join, okay, I don't have to explain you. Okay, it means that, okay, if you're in class, you have to come here. If you're online, this is the link and you have to join, right? I don't have to explain you. And that's how it happens in real life. Okay, otherwise, if you do not use class, then I have to explain that process every time, right? Now if you say eat, for example, okay, so there is a concept in class called as okay, it's called some duck. Okay, I forgot the name. It's what it says is, um, everything is a duck as long as it's quack. What it means is, you have a duck which will make quack sound. If you are a car, if car also make a quack sound, no difference. Car also becomes a duck only, right? So that's the kind of application that we're talking about. So when you say we have a class, I don't have to, okay, class in the sense, training class, not the Python class. If I say we have a class, I don't have to explain you any further. But when you don't club them together, when you don't have that relation, right, then for every time, okay, you have to specifically call. So object oriented programming language was developed. Okay, before that, people were doing, as you said, it was like what we've been doing so far. That was the original way of doing programming. But people felt that no, we need to do code reusability. Okay, because each digit is there. Now, each digit is linked to string only, not linked to anything else. Because string only will use each digit. And you have defined it once, every time you are calling it. Now, if I have to use each digit, I have to write each digit logic every time. For apple also, for orange also, right? So what it says is, okay, let's define some functions and we'll give it a group, okay, so that you know what it can be done, right? Otherwise, what happens, you can play cricket also with apple. I'll say cricket apple, apple play cricket. Apple play cricket is not possible, right? So no, just to avoid that, just to mimic the real world situation. So as you said, we can do programming, but the programming will be lengthy, difficult to understand. Readability, again, problem will be there. Okay, so that's why we use we use class and objects so that see, when I say is digit here, you will not even get a doubt. Oh, let's say I'm doing the programming and you are reviewing my programming. If you see object name dot string dot is digit, you'll say okay, it's a string, so he's checking that. If I say list dot is digit, no, it will not work. Okay, so it's in a way it's a good it's making the programming easy, more correct, and making it more readable. Okay, so that's why we use class and objects, in fact. Okay, so we were here, Apple, and I said display. Okay, and I said that this self keyword, because this will be unique for each object. Okay, so now when I say print here in display, print I am in display. Okay, so this is your class Apple and this is your function. Okay, and function will have self, so only methods will have self. Actual independent functions will not have self. And you have print I'm in display. Okay, now you go and create an object of Apple. So I say A1. A1 is like creating S1 as a string 1, right? A1 equal to Apple. Now if I say print type of A1, okay, what will you get? See, it says class main.apple. Apple. Okay, main.apple. Okay, so okay, now okay, so it indicates that this is a we'll talk about main when we talk about modules. Okay, so why it is called main? Main means your class is in same file. Unlike when I say type here, when I say type str1, it does not say main because the class is not defined in this file. When you define the class in this file, only you'll get main here. Okay, so this is your object. Now if I have to call display, I will say a1 dot display. Correct. And you can create multiple objects, isn't it? You can say a1 apple, okay, a2, a3, a4, a2, a3, and a4. Okay. Now let's say this display takes okay, so let's create one more function here, one more method. I'm going to say display def get value, and I say, let's say this will display the value also. Okay, so which value to display? Will take a value from the user. Okay, function can take values, right? Multiple arguments. So I'm taking a value here. So let's say name. So name is a variable which will be passed to this method when we create an object. Okay, and I'm saying self.name. Self.name. So again, right, when you're talking about class members, okay, whether it's variables or functions, you have to indicate whether it is a class level member or object level member. So you have to, so to indicate that this name is unique to every object, initializing. So this is where we're initializing. So name is an object level. How do you know it's object level? Because we have said self dot. So self dot name means name, we are creating a variable which will be unique to the object. Okay, and you're initializing the value equal to name. Equal to means you're assigning a value to self dot name, right? So okay, so now when you call get value, okay, if I say a1 dot get value, I need to give I need to give name. This is required positional argument. Okay, so it says missing one required positional argument. So I have to give name. So let's say I give Sachin. Okay, I give Sachin. Now, so get value will get Sachin. Now, let's say I want to print the name here, display. Okay, I am, okay, and let's say I put self dot name, okay, not just name. Okay, here everything has to be either self dot name or class dot name. Class label CLS, self. Now it says self dot name, right? Now you see, in display, am I passing the value? Am I somehow inserting self dot name? I'm using self dot name without getting it from anywhere. No, we don't have to do. Why we don't have to display or we don't have to initialize self dot name here is because display is member of Apple. Get value is also part of Apple. So it's like, assume that they are like brothers and sisters living in same house, right? If they are part of same house, then they can share the variables. So the reason again you asked me, why should we use class? We can use function directly. Then in that function you have to pass this value. For now, for this display, display doesn't have to, okay, it can directly start using self name as if you have given to display only. And not only that, it will be able to make linkage with the object. So if I say a1 dot get value Sachin, and if I say a2 dot get value Kapil, okay, and if I say a3 dot get value Lakshman, okay, and now when I print, okay, when I print a1 dot display, what will I get? A1 is Sachin. So, okay, I am Sachin. Now, why it knows Sachin is because I told it's object level. So when you create an object level, each of these will get a duplicate copies, right? So if I tell you that I'm holding an apple, whatever concept you know about apple will be duplicated in this fruit, right? So if I say this apple class has two variables, two methods, if apple class has two methods, so the object of apple class will get these two methods. And if I had given class, and we'll see class method, if I had given class, then it have been only one thing shared across all. Like let's say if you're home and you have only one TV, let's say. So the TV is a class level, it's a house property. Your phone is a personal property, but TV is a house property. Huh? No, class is your house. Class is your house, which has various members. So everything that you have in your house is the members of the house. Okay, and members are those people who are living. So you are an entity. Your parents are an identity. Your father is an entity. Your brother is an entity. Your sister is an entity. Your wife is an entity. Your mother is an entity. Each of them are different identities. But there are few things which are common for everybody. Maybe kitchen is common, let's say. Okay, so those are your class level. TV is common, let's say. So that's your class level. But when you say self, that means that is your thing. Your phone is your property, right? So when I say, okay, when I say Aviram.phone, then I know it is Aviram's phone that I want, right? So this is like this. When you say self, it becomes object level property. These are properties for object. Get value display is a property for object. So if I say a1 dot get value, this get value will get associated with object a1. And when I say a1 dot display, okay, so this display will be associated with a1, which are linked like this. So when I say self dot name, it knows that, okay, name means, okay, so get value of a1. Now, if I have to declare a class level method, you can declare class method also. So there's a different way to declare class level method. So object level directly you say def, okay, you get self here. For class method, you have to say class method specifically. Okay, you have to mention that I want to do a class method. Now here I'm going to say your address, let's say, display address. Okay, you see, the moment I say bracket, it gives CLS. PyCharm is intelligent enough to tell me that it is CLS, class level. Okay, now if I say here, okay, so for doing this, you need to first create a class level variable here. Okay, so I'm going to say LOC equal to world. Okay, now let's say address, I'm going to print here. Print location equal to, yeah, CLS dot LOC. Okay, so now when I say A1 dot address, or I say A2 dot address, it is same. Okay, so when you say class level will have CLS. Okay, CLS dot LOC, and you can define it here, or you can change the value here. Let's say now I change the value. I say CLS dot LOC, okay, equal to universe. Let's say I've changed it here. So now when you run it, A1 or A2, okay, both will give universe, because both are updating the value and you're getting a new value. Now, address, when you say CLS, it will have only one copy. LOC will have only one copy. Whether it's a A1 dot or A2 dot or A3 dot, A4 dot does not impact. Okay. Now let's say, okay. Now let's say we'll have one method here. Okay. Okay, we'll have one more class method, let's say. Class method def set address. Okay, set address. Now I'm saying cls.loc. Okay. Now when you run this, what do you get? You get only world. Why do you get world? Because okay, we are changing the universe, but nobody has called the set address. No, nobody has called. So if you don't call it, functions methods will not work. You have to call the method for it to work. Okay. So what I'll do is, instead of A2, I'll say A1 dot set address. So I'm saying A1 dot set address, A1, but I'm calling A2 dot address. You still get universe. You still get universe. You didn't get, see, A1 is setting the address. No. So you had world here, right? And which object is changing the values here? Which object is changing? A1 is changing. A1 is changing to universe. I called A1 dot set universe, set address. A1 is changing to universe. But when I call A2 dot address, still it gave me universe. So A1 is changing it, but when I call A2, it's still giving me universe. Because since it is only one copy, let's say if your sister, okay, breaks the TV, and when you go and see it will be broken only, no? Because that's a common shared across every family member. Now, when you break your phone, your sister may not know. Okay, sister breaks your phone, you may not know. But when you break TV, if you break also, everybody in the house will know that you broke TV. Because that is shared across all the objects. Okay, so when I say Kapil and Lakshman, Lakshman is associated with A3 and Kapil is associated with A2. Okay, so when I print A2 dot value or display, I'm getting Kapil. A3 will give me Lakshman. But in case of class level, it doesn't matter, okay, because it's shared across all the object anyways. If it is shared across all the object, then it doesn't make any sense to hide it or do anything else. Did you understand? Pavni?
Um,
You,
yeah,
you
I'm there. I'm still thinking like,
yeah, you should stop me and ask, right? Okay.
okay.
So difference between object is that it creates unique value for every object. For example, for example, the fruit which I am eating, apple fruit, and which apple fruit you are eating, right? It is different, right? Maybe yours could be sweet, mine could be sour also, right? But thing which is common, shape of apple is common across the globe, right? So if I ask you the say shape, it will be same for you and for me. So shape has become an class level, which whether you answer or I answer, somebody else answer will give same answer. But if your fruit sweet or sour, that will depend upon each individual which I am eating. So these are like your taste, which is very unique to the object, and these are like your shape, okay, which is okay common for all the object, unique for apple, unique for class, okay, but same for all the object. Okay, so this is how we declare a class. Okay, now what I want you to do is write a program, okay, to using class, of course, to read the values, to read two values. So you'll have a method called read values. You will not perform in same method, okay? You will have read values, okay, a method to read value, and another method to print the value sum. So the read method will read value a and b, and print method will display the sum of the values. Okay, class my sum or something. Okay, printing, adding and printing, yes. So I'm going to say def get val, huh? Collab. Okay, so you can write self. Okay, you can write self. Now again, the thing is, it need not be self also. Okay, generally, self is the standard thing. You can write anything. You can write ABC also. But when you're writing ABC, so here you have to write ABC so that it know it is an object level. So okay, but by default we write self. Okay, so that's why we prefer to write self. Self dot num1 equal to, okay, int of input, enter value 1. Okay, and I say here self dot num2 enter value 2. Okay, def print sum. Okay, self dot sum equal to self dot num plus self dot num2. Print. Correct. So perform sum and then print. Perform sum and then print, right? M1 equal to my sum. And now you have to say M1 dot get val and M1 dot print sum. So when you run it, enter the value 1, 10, 20, and some of the values is 30. Did you get, Pavni? Is there on your screen here?
yeah, I got it.